Welcome back to another episode of the Super Real Estate Bros podcast. I am one of your hosts, Brandon Snyder, team leader selling the Snyder Group, brokered by EXP in the Greater Houston area. God, that's a mouthful.
It's a long pitch right there.
You should not use this as a real estate team because our name is too damn long, and my email is like this long. And I'm here with Dave.
DaveYourMortgageGuy.com. Let's get it on.
It's okay. At the end of this episode, you're going to do a finger wave with us because it's like...
Frank's ready.
I'm ready.
I shotgun the coffee. I'm like freaking ready to go, man.
We are here. Full disclosure, I've never met this guy in my life, but he seems pretty cool and he has a business, so he's on the podcast. We let just anybody on the podcast these days. Actually, no. Frank is a business owner in the Katy area.
Yes.
And Frank, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Awesome. So I'm Frank Lujan. I am the owner of Crafted Kitchens, Remodeling and Design, and we basically specialize in remodeling forever homes, and where the kitchen is part of the remodel.
All right, I'm going to take over from here. So let me explain. Frank and I have been friends for years. Let me explain how I became friends with Frank and following and appreciate his work. So, you know how they talk about it's called food porn, right? Where people are just watching videos on like cakes being made and what to eat, right? You have to follow Frank on, well, pretty much everything, Instagram, TikTok, whatever. And he's always doing clips of the work that he's doing for these kitchens. And that is what caused me to follow Frank even before I knew him. And then Frank and I just became friends from that. So Frank, right away, let's talk about, so before we even dig into a whole bunch of topics, where can people find you?
So TikTok is probably my main platform right now. TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, they're all at My Crafted Kitchen.
Fantastic. Yeah. So it would be safe to say that the biggest things that you're working on are the kitchens for people and cabinetry.
Yeah,
correct.
So we have a custom cabinet shop. So naturally, we specialize in kitchens and cabinetry.
So are you making your own cabinets?
We do custom cabinets from scratch.
Okay. Yeah, that's what custom means, Dave.
Yeah.
Oh.
Not prefab.
Yeah.
Look, I know that you only do mortgages and you don't know what these terms mean.
Custom.
Yeah.
Dave's an investor, but he doesn't know anything about remodeling homes.
I don't really know anything about anything. Man, Brandon's a dick. Okay, so getting back on the topic. So, Frank, how long have you been doing it? And give me the short story, because obviously I know the long version. Yeah. Give me the short story on how you got into this and where you're at today and what you built.
All right, so I've been in construction and remodeling for about 20 years now. The short version is I'm originally from Miami. I grew up in Miami. After Hurricane Katrina, this was right before the housing market bubble in 2006, 2007, 8. Moved to New Orleans and purchased some homes to flip after Hurricane Katrina. And I thought I was going to be the millionaire real estate investor. That didn't quite pan out. And I purchased these homes, couldn't find trades, and kind of had to learn a little bit about doing the remodeling myself with the help of my family, my dad, my mom. And I met a young lady there through Craigslist, and she helped me kind of navigate the city and ended up selling those homes and moving here to Houston. That young lady ended up being my wife. We've been working together for about 15 years now as well. Moved to Houston in 2008, right before Hurricane Ike. And so that kind of got our remodeling business started. And, about 13 years later, we're here.
Man, that's awesome. Okay, so I'm going to hit you with a whole bunch of random questions, and Brand's going to do it too. What is the most expensive kitchen you've ever done?
About $100,000 kitchen.
And what did that involve?
Well,
actually, for anybody out there, if your wives are listening to this podcast, specifically my wife and Brandon's wife, we suggest you just skip and go listen to something else, because that number right there is already making me nervous.
Yeah. Well, they typically involve a lot of moving of mechanicals, removal of walls, putting up engineered beams. So it's not just the cabinetry in the kitchen. It's oftentimes it's the materials that are being used, the type of countertops, backsplash,
the quality, the expense of those things.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so it's like at $100,000, you're demoing the whole kitchen to the walls, and then restructuring even maybe where the island goes or any of that type of stuff.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's not like you're putting one Le Creuset pot in there. It's a $100,000 kitchen.
Yeah.
If you're still watching this, that's expensive. Stop buying that stuff. But okay, so let me ask you something, because you touched on something I think is really cool. So you used to invest in real estate, and that's where you really got your start, and you were like, hey, like, I need to learn how to do this. So for people watching out there, and this is not a dig on this person that I'm bringing up, but I just bring it up because I actually like their content. Tara Kalmusa is a perfect example of like, if you want to learn how to invest in real estate, like outside of what's on HGTV, he actually does a really good job on it. But if you've ever watched Flip or Flop, they're like, their budget's all over the place and they don't know what's going on. So talk to us a little bit about like what that looks like from an investor side of getting in and remodeling a house, and maybe what you find when you start uncovering things. You talked about going down to the studs. I mean, you're going to find things on the inside of the walls, right?
Yeah. So it's actually one of the reasons that we don't work with investors. We only work with end users, because oftentimes investors, they make their money when they buy. Mm-hmm. So when you buy a property, you have a set budget, and oftentimes they have to kind of scale back on the scope of work, or oftentimes quality, to get them to their final number, which is why our process when we're remodeling a kitchen, it doesn't include concrete numbers. We do an entire design profile of the project beforehand, and that kind of evolves throughout the project until we get a final number, and then we kind of execute based on the design that has been predetermined. So
okay,
yeah.
So one of the things to understand here is that when you are buying a home and you see the potential in it, and you are going to eventually remodel it, hiring the person who sees your vision is really important, because like when we talk about rehabbing homes and investing and flipping them or whatever, you're talking about the end buyer. You're not building the vision for them. You're not building this magnificent kitchen for them. You're actually looking at it from what is the best option possible for me to get my money back and then make a profit. But when we're talking about an actual home buyer who sees a house and sees the potential, you guys are so involved in that process. Mm-hmm. So what, like, there's a consultation process, so they like go through with you and they like start, it's like going to a design center with a builder?
Great question.
Yeah. So one of the questions that I like to propose to potential clients is for them to kind of guess what kind of, and I like to use analogies, what kind of restaurant they would consider hiring as their remodeler. Well, let me rephrase that. If you were a restaurant, what kind of restaurant do you think we are? And I typically say, you could be fast food, McDonald's, so-and-so. Casual dining is like a Chili's or a Red Robin, or a fine dining, and I ask them, who do you think we are? Most, would say that they would consider us fine dining. Some say casual dining, so on. And I say, well, we're neither of the three. We're actually a private chef. We don't have a menu. We ask you questions. What are you allergic to? What kind of food do you like? And there doesn't necessarily mean we're good or bad. We're just different. There are great private chefs and there are horrible private chefs, but we are nonetheless a private chef. So we're going to ask a lot of questions before we determine what kind of meal we're going to prepare to you. And same with our remodeling process. So we don't. We ask a lot of questions. What's your budget is probably the first question that we like to dive into. What would you like to invest in your property? How much do you think you'd like to spend on your project? Without that question, it's very difficult to move forward.
Because they wouldn't be prepared. You're not prepared. So if they say, I have no idea, and you start throwing out ideas that it's going to cost $100,000 and they're thinking $75,000, you know what I mean? Like, so for sure. So anybody who's thinking about completely redoing their kitchen at a high level, right? Not paint the cabinets, right? But true high level, you really got to start with a dollar amount and say, we're willing to spend X.
Right.
And then at that point, you're going to put together that plan based on what they want in that dollar range.
Yeah, and it can be a range. It doesn't have to be a fixed set, but it's similar to almost anything you buy. When you go purchase a car, you don't just say, go to a car dealership and tell the car salesman, I'm not going to tell you how much I want to spend, but I want this, that, and the other. You kind of have to have
impossible.
a gauge.
Right.
And I think society in general has kind of made this rule that you pick three contractors and you go with the middle one or you go with the best, and I don't know where that rule came from, but it doesn't work.
You go with the cheap. I mean, yeah, no.
Well, but here's the thing: you're curating a special experience for people. I mean, that's so incredible because if you think about it, like most contractors are going to come in and say, hey, you want me to do this job, this is how much it's going to be, and we're done.
Right.
But when we're talking about, and especially this specific process is designed for people who are going to live in this house for a long time, because most people know, or I hope they know, if you're watching this and this is news to you, let's have a conversation later, but you're not getting dollar per dollar back in your build. Like if you're going to go put $100,000 into a kitchen, and you go sell it a year later, you're not getting that back.
Mm-hmm.
Like
you see that with pools. You see that with pools and appraisals for homes when they go to sell it. They paid $75,000 for the pool.
They got $30,000.
25, 30.
Right.
Yeah.
You're not going to get it. So Frank, you set it up beautifully, which is we do kitchens for the forever home, which is genius on your part, because you're making this decision that you're going to die in that kitchen.
Yeah, or at the minimum,
Right? I mean, think about it. Like, if I'm going to spend $100,000 for a kitchen, I'm freaking dying in that kitchen.
For a second, because Frank said he's a private chef, and you said they're going to die in the kitchen. There's a movie that came out recently where they bring a bunch of rich people to an island, and they cook them dinner, and then they actually like cook the people in the dinner.
Oh wait, no. Which one?
They like light people on fire, and it's got like Anna Taylor-Joy and a bunch of other famous actors and actresses. Anyway, point
that movie
being,
sounds horrible.
Disclaimer:
We're completely off topic.
We don't murder people in our homes. Disclaimer.
No, I'm saying I'm going to die. I'm going to be 80 years old, super happy with my kitchen still. I'm going to pass out from a heart attack and die in that kitchen. I spent $100,000 on it, right?
well,
am I overselling the kitchen? Maybe I don't know.
At the minimum, not have a desire to sell your house in the near future. At the minimum. I mean, that's kind of what we call a forever home, where you're going to make an investment. It's going to be personal. You're not thinking about resale value. Those are other variables that might have a decision on the final design. So we want to make sure that the client that we're catering to just wants their dream kitchen with no other outside variables.
Okay, since we can't visually see this, what is the ugliest thing that you did in someone's kitchen, remodeling standpoint, that wasn't your choice, obviously, but they chose to do it and you're like, man, that came out looking horrible?
That doesn't happen with our kitchens.
Good answer, Frank. Good answer.
And I'm not,
no ugly backsplashes.
No. Inez, my wife, she's a great designer. She helps with client communication and design. She will not do something that is not tasteful.
So she straight just said, hey, this is going to look bad.
Yeah, we have conversations often where she'll say, oh, the homeowner wanted this, and I just said no, because it's just, not.
It's ugly.
Yeah.
It's ugly.
So let's unpack that for a second. So what we're talking about here is pride and craftsmanship. I mean, if somebody's sitting here and you're watching this, like, I would never spend $100,000 for a kitchen, you're probably the same person liking his Instagram or TikTok posts. Yeah. I mean, being...
There's a high probability I can't afford a $100,000 kitchen, but I'm watching his Instagram videos for sure.
but the thing is like, from a business perspective, and I just use this as an example, you're not hiring the guy who's doing, 2 remodels a month. You're hiring the team that curates an experience that makes you feel like family, and you fall in love with your house again because you spent $100,000 on a kitchen.
Yeah.
Right. So something that is really important for the people listening, you don't have to go do a $100,000 kitchen to fall in love with it. But when you do a $100,000 kitchen, it is something that you're going to absolutely love. Your friends are going to talk about it. They're going to come over. People are going to want to host at your house now. You are going to be Susie Homemaker.
No, yeah, that kitchen. Look, I would feel like the number 1 or 2 big item that when somebody walks into the house is completely taken back by is the kitchen. No one says, man, that one spare bedroom was awesome. Yeah. Right? Like, no one gives a shit and they didn't go to a spare bedroom, but they're going to either see that living room and better have a fireplace that breeds attention, draws attention, or they're going to talk about the kitchen. So I think if you're somebody who's hosting, that's an investment to make, right?
Right.
Like, but so, Frank, going into... Let's say you're going into that remodel as a whole, right? Mm-hmm. What are maybe 3 things that somebody should really think about? We know budget's one of them.
Yeah.
Right? Is before you even go down that road, feel comfortable with some type of ballpark.
Right. By the way, our average kitchen project is about $50,000 or so.
Frank had to jump in because he's worried I'm going to sell him as only the $100,000 kitchen guy. So obviously you can spend less.
Yeah.
So what's the least amount that you've done on a kitchen?
I mean, we've done $5,000-6,000 quick remodels, but that is changing because the more that we specialize and get into these projects that require a great deal amount of attention, we like to provide the same service to all of our clients. So oftentimes, the smaller the project, it requires just as much or more attention because things can go south very quickly. So we're probably going to start doing a minimum of about $30,000 or $40,000 per project.
Correct, because you're not going to do crappy kitchens.
Well,
right. I mean, it makes it. I mean, not taking anything away from a $5,000 rejob, but not everybody can be the go-to in every example, right? If you provide an X amount of service and quality of work,
well, I'm okay with doing. I love analogies. So it's the same reason why Chick-fil-A doesn't do hamburgers. They could, but they just don't cater to that market.
Oh man, or stay open on Sundays. That'd be nice.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not. It's just the product that we want to offer.
Are you guys open on Sundays?
We're open 24 hours.
Look at that. Already better than Chick-fil-A. Okay, so Frank, let me ask you something here. So you talk about kind of transitioning away from like the smaller projects just because of how much care and detail you put into each project. But let me ask you this, like, when you started this, did you know that like going from the remodels that you were doing to when you started this specific company, did you know, like, did you have a standard when you and your wife, choose your wife at the time when y'all started?
No.
Okay,
no.
so when you and your future wife were starting this, or getting ready to start this company, did you have this standard of excellence where you were like, I'm going to do badass A+ work and I'm not doing anything less than that, and that's the standard, so any trades that I bring in or any people that come work for me are going to have to do it at A+, or else I'm not hiring them?
Yeah, but when I started, it was in a truck in an apartment.
Sure.
And I was doing most, or if not all, of the actual labor.
Sure.
So yeah, that was my mindset from the get go. Just basically client attention, service, quality. That I lost a lot of money because I didn't price things out correctly. Would have to do things over until the job got done correctly. All for the 5-star review, and then that kind of just evolved over time. But
you had a vision. And I think anybody who's listening to this podcast, even though it's off the topic, I think if you're growing a business, you have to have a vision of what that end one is.
Yeah.
Right? You could just be, hey, we're the cheapest, quickest, easiest, we just get it done and move on. That can be your business plan.
Right.
If your business plan is to do high quality, stuff, you had to evolve.
Yeah.
As a contractor / business owner, right? Inez, I'm sure, helped with that. And so you grow, right? And you have to. So let's go back to 2 additional items that people need to think about going into remodeling their kitchen.
Okay, so budget, timeline. Too often homeowners want to get started immediately, and the design process for a decent sized remodeling kitchen, a kitchen remodel where in particular mechanicals are going to get moved around, that may take 1 to 3, 4 months.
Okay, so they need to be prepared. Sorry. So they need to be prepared. They're going to be inconvenienced during this period, and they need to be prepared for that, which is a lot of DoorDash or staying somewhere else.
Well, that's just the design.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so the project hasn't gotten started at that point, but if you want something that's well thought out with as many options considered, you need to take some time and not start your project immediately. So if you're ready for a project today, take anywhere from 2 to 4 months to prepare for that design.
And then how long is the timeline? On your average kitchens that you do, what is your timeline to get it done?
3 to 6 months.
Okay, so you should be realistically prepared to be displaced out of your kitchen for almost a year.
No. The design side, there's no demo.
Okay.
This is just design, picking out your appliances. You can't build cabinets without your appliances because they're all custom. So you can't pick your cabinets without your appliances. You can't pick your appliances without knowing where they're going to be located, and everything else that falls behind that. So you're typically doing, again, 2 to 4 months of just design, picking out everything that you can possibly imagine beforehand, so that once you have a game plan, you can get.
So what's total time frame? Total time frame for an average kitchen remodel?
Well, design time 2 to 4.
Right.
Build time 3 to 6. So
Okay, so you could anywhere from like 5 to 10 months. This whole process is happening.
Correct.
Is what
Right. So the moment it comes into your head, you've got to prepare that your end result, the beautiful kitchen you love, may be a year down the line, which is what Brandon was saying. Which
Can
is
we get
great point.
DoorDash to sponsor this episode since you shouted them out?
DoorDash, please.
No, I usually
we plug a lot of people and we get zero advertising money
I
like from anybody.
Like, tweet at DoorDash or something.
We should. We'll tag them.
Yeah.
Come on, Door.
No, but I mean, in reality, it's something that you have to be prepared for. So, when it comes to selling your house, if you're going to do a remodel like this, let's just say that you're like, hey, I live in a more expensive area and my house is outdated and I do want to sell this house, but I think I need to make these changes. And let's say you do a $50,000 remodel, which is on average, right, for a nice kitchen. Let's say you're in River Oaks is probably more than that, but let's go with like a nice established area. $700,000-800,000 house, you should prepare for a 6 to 9 month process before you even get the opportunity to list your house. And so that's something to think about. And obviously, you're talking about forever homes, but when we're talking about timeline, the quality and care, if you want it done right, it could take a while, and then you get your house listed. So I know we're not super into like fixing it and then selling it, but it's something that, I mean, would you
You've got to be mindful of it, right? Like you can say forever, and then as it starts to play out, maybe not. Or at least if it was me, I'd want to know what that end result would look like, getting some additional value for the kitchen, and that's a question to ask a realtor, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And the 100% true is the same as like pools. You should definitely look at this as like, I'm not getting dollar per dollar. But what you will get is more people going, oh wow, I could see myself living here forever.
Yeah.
Or 10.
That kitchen could sell it, right? I mean, there's homes.
Happened last night. We literally looked at a home last night with some clients, right an offer as of recording, and we walked in and the kitchen sold. The kitchen wasn't great. I mean, it wasn't like a $100,000 kitchen, but that was the part where they remodeled the house and spent the most time on was the kitchen and then the floors. So those are two things that people are going to look at when they walk in a house.
Correct.
What do the floors look like? They're going to look at light fixtures. They're going to look at the kitchen because where are they going to spend most of their time? The living room, the kitchen, right? So floors and kitchen. So it was cool because I was like, oh, this is a nice remodel. They kind of were shifting out of the farmhouse going into the industrial, which is actually something I want to ask you. What are you seeing style wise right now? Like, what are people preferring when they're going through this design process with you?
We're private chefs, right? So that's like
but they come with a palette, right? Like they have a palette of things they've tasted before.
Yes.
Poor Frank's trying to be PC and not like disrespect anyone's kitchen.
No.
I'm not one to make a decision, but the farmhouse looks like crap. I'm a big fan of industrial. No, man. I'm putting words in Frank's mouth.
I love farmhouse, but it's something where we truly cater to whatever it is that you want. We ask for inspirational photos. What is it that you like? So we ask questions where we cater
pull it out of people.
We cater it to you. So the very first thing, we have a project inquiry form on our website, and that requires an attachment of an inspirational photo. So we kind of get an understanding of what it is that you like, and then based on that, then we start to dive into other questions. Right now, though, what is trendy, kind of grays are kind of going out, and this isn't in trends. We try not to do anything trendy, to be honest with you. People will ask for, some grays and whites. That's kind of what has been popular the last 3-4 years. Now it's a little bit more, neutral colors, some softer whites. You're kind of getting out of the grays, but really, if it's your home, it's your forever home, it's your money, whatever you like, that's where we're going to try to kind of envision that inspirational photo and make it a reality, and that's really why we're different.
I love it. I think something that's really important to unpack here is when you are hiring anyone to do a job, if they're not listening to your wants and your needs, you should probably hire someone else. So it's not just, what do you want? Okay, we're going to do that, but it's, hey, what do you want? And this is a vision we can build around what you've already seen. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people don't look at that. They just think, okay, I want someone to come in like we've been talking about. I want them to come in and do it the cheapest, the fastest, and get it done. Mm-hmm. But that's not the case. And especially when we're talking about, if I'm going to invest $50,000 cash into something, I don't want to wake up every day and look at it and hate it. Right? So curating that experience, you're also telling people like, hey, based on what you like, this is what I think we should do. Right? Is that kind of how that process works?
Exactly.
So I absolutely love it. I think if you're a business owner listening to this podcast right now, because we're not giving anything tactical of like how to go convince your sellers to spend $100,000 to go fix their house to go sell it. But if you're a business owner right now and you're like, hey, I'm struggling on client retention, I'm not getting them to leave me the reviews that I want them to leave. Like, this is something, emotional intelligence comes in a lot of different ways, but this is something that involves emotional intelligence. You're doing a needs analysis, and then you're curating and creating a special experience based on those wants and needs. And we don't always get the opportunity to do that in our side of the industry.
Yeah, in mine you don't. I mean,
Dave's like, you want a mortgage or not, dog?
Yeah, this is what it looks like. But no, I mean, look, I think also as a business owner, don't be afraid to commit to not even so much a niche, but be specific on what you want to go after. That's what Frank has done. He's been very successful doing it. You can't be the person who does, we do all projects no matter what, and this and that. Find that the customer is out there and then go after it. If it's a realtor, if it's a loan officer, if you sell cars, I mean, anybody, figure out what that end result is and work toward it. There was times, and Frank hinted to it a little bit there, lost money, had to redo work. He was growing in his ability to be that end result, and it sucked. He could have quit and just been like, hey, I'm the cheapest. If that guy charged you $2,000, I'll do it for $1,800. And that wasn't Frank's business plan. So I think that's something that, as your friend, has always greatly impressed me when I hear that story, because it works. And that part's always left out of these stories sometimes. So,
Frank, I want to ask you something that I think is not enough people ask. And this isn't in a derogatory sense, but because you are more specialized in what you do, what's your ideal client?
Well, somebody that is living in their forever home.
Okay.
And that has the budget to match their vision.
Ooh. Frank's saying like all the right things.
We're gonna clip that because that's huge.
Yeah, this whole entire podcast, Frank has always said the correct thing in the most PC way. But I mean, but that's a truthful statement, right? Because the truth of the matter is, you need to have somebody who has a vision, isn't moving, so the return on it isn't as high of a priority because it's not going to be there.
Exactly.
And they can afford it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And this is, I've been working on all these. This is the growing my business, working on my business, not in it. You know, it's kind of a cliche, you know, but that's what I've been doing recently, is to, you know, hone our clients so that the clients that end up working with us, they get the full benefit of what we have to offer, you know. And you can only do that by being able to ask yourself these kinds of questions. And that, in, you know, the last month or two, those are the questions that I've been asking myself and our team, and kind of getting these answers. So it's kind of what we've been working on recently. So
I want to round third here as we close this thing out. So you're talking, and I loved hearing that, because you're a business owner. You know you're a business owner. You're starting to look at it from a macro level instead of a micro level. Mm-hmm. So what does the next 5 years of team building look like? Because eventually, like, I imagine you're not going to want to just be slogging it out every day doing remodels.
Exactly.
So how do you go and hire the people that carry out that vision that you've had for, how long did you say you've been doing this?
I would say for about 15 years now.
I was like, I've only been here for 2 hurricanes, and that was Harvey and Ike, so I don't know hurricanes before that. So I had to do the math. So, okay, so how do you carry out that vision and hire the people to carry out that vision? Because I'm going through the same thing right now in my business, where I have to hire people to carry out my vision, because there's no way I'm going to continue to sell 50, 60 homes a year by myself. So how do you carry out that?
So the first thing, and this is out, maybe I'll go ahead and break the news here. So we do have a custom cabinet shop, and I've been struggling with the identity of both, you know. So the cabinet shop, we're actually going to branch it off as its own brand, and it's going to be Texas Cabinetry and Design. These are going to be our clients. Our ideal clients are going to be people that either homeowners, builders, engineers, architects that want custom cabinetry only. And Crafted Kitchens is going to be kind of an offshoot to showcase our cabinetry. So we're going to look for clients that want a slightly larger project we're going to scale back the amount of clients, and it's going to be kind of the Bentley to the Volkswagen. Volkswagen is going to be, Volkswagen owns Bentley, and they have a kind of very select, or what's the word?
Clientele. I mean, but their entire. I mean, it's two different business plans, right? It may be under the same umbrella, but it's two
Just
different.
want to unpack it real quick. Did we get a podcast exclusive announcement?
Yes, we did. Yeah.
We've made it.
Podcast exclusive. So
we've made it.
So Texas Cabinetry and Design is going to be what we're going to focus on to build processes, grow. It's a one trade. It's scalable and
scalable.
And its service, or its unique service that we're going to offer, is to showcase the cabinetry in these projects. So to answer your question, we do have a 10-year plan. Our 10-year plan is to be the #1 custom cabinet company in the state of Texas. That is our 10-year plan. Something that's so outrageous that it doesn't seem possible, but that is what we're going to shoot for. And in those next 10 years, we're going to offer services to very unique client base that we can showcase our cabinetry. And how am I going to do it? Just documenting our processes. That's another thing that I've been working on tremendously with our team, is processes, policies, and procedures, documenting everything on a day-to-day basis.
That's gold. So in Brandon, when we had Mary on, we talked about the exact same thing. And you hear it over and over and over again. How to scale and keep the customer service high, right? How Brandon sells homes. Ideally, when he brings an agent onto the team, he expects the same level of customer service. How do you do that? You simplify the process, right? We talked about this the last time we had lunch, or 2 times before.
At the pub?
At the pub, which was not very good.
Hey, Dave's wife, if you're watching this, and he said he was at some cafe, he was at the pub. Spoiler.
No, we ate.
That's a funny story.
It was a funny story. It's not where I wanted to eat. We'll leave it at that.
Steak and lobster on Tuesday. What do you know?
You have to have systems and processes so the employee, and I'm taking some of stealing your words only because we've had this conversation so many times. The people you bring on, the easiest way to keep them on track and provide the same service is by having systems and processes, and that's scalable. If you're treating each new employee like, why do they not work as hard as I do? Why do they not think about this or that? You didn't set them up to succeed because you didn't have those processes in place. And man, to me, I think scaling is a topic that's not talked about enough, because how do you blow up your business and it be manageable?
Yeah.
It's all based on scaling.
That's because a lot of people who are 1099 don't believe they own a business. Let's just be honest here. Like, I can tell you that 3/4 of the real estate agent industry does not believe they run a business. They think they're 1099, they're commission sales.
They think it's always a one-off.
Right.
I had one closing, now I need to get another client to do another closing. And that's so small-minded that you're hurting yourself in that gerbil wheel, right? If you were doing one kitchen project at a time and not thinking the next step forward, it's not.
And growing is not scaling.
Right?
And let's dig into that. Let's dig into that. So
do we have a mic to drop? Can we?
Yeah, that's gold right there. It only took Frank like 45 minutes to say anything that was actually memorable, but so
he's dropped 2 in 5 minutes.
He's dropped 2. Frank, you screwed up this entire podcast. No one's listening at this point. It's gone so long. But let's go. So growing and scaling is not the same thing.
No.
What's the definition of growing and what's the definition of scaling? And why are they not the same thing? This is gold.
Yeah, well, I like analogies, right? So if I'm digging holes, growing would be hiring another guy with another shovel. And if I want to dig more holes, I hire another guy with another shovel.
Okay.
Scaling is buying a bulldozer.
Okay, so those of you in the real estate industry who are listening to this, you've probably heard it said this way too. Why are we going a mile wide when we should be going a mile deep? Okay.
Wait, am I going to have to come up with a good study too?
Okay, but this is incredible.
If it don't make dollars, it don't make sense.
Oh my God, we're done. We're in scene.
Let's go, DJ Quick, right?
It's so important when you talk about this, because you can be busy without being busy. And a lot of people will be like, oh, I just hired 18 people and then they're not doing much. But when we're talking about scalability, you have to have the processes in place, or at least you have to have the vision. The vision is the most important thing. You cannot scale without a vision. If you are stuck in the trenches, speaking of digging holes, if you're stuck in the trenches and you're just bringing more and more people around you to help you to do that same thing, it's even more so. I'd say you have to go find a different piece of land as well and start like finding different areas that you can go be a part of. And I love that. I absolutely love that because a lot of people don't talk about scaling enough. And you're absolutely right.
And scaling, man, this is really should have been 2 podcasts. We're gonna have Frank back, but so let's talk about
back-to-back guest ever.
Yeah, man.
But I'll touch on that really quickly. So basically, growing is dollar for dollar.
Right.
You know, and you need to provide more service. You have to invest a little bit more. Scaling is how you can extend your how you can, I guess, exponentially grow your outcome with the same amount of resources, basically.
No, I think correct. I think scaling is being able to identify how to blow up.
Right.
Is how I look at it. It's like, hey, how am I going to blow up? And sometimes scaling looks the opposite of growing. Right. Growing is I hired another person, or I'm spending this money, or I'm doing this one task. Scaling may be blowing up a couple things, going back 3 steps, putting in a legit system where you may not see any return on investment. It may look like you're wasting time, but you believe in it. And then when it all works, dude, you look like a rocket scientist.
We're going through this right now. Like we hired a coach last summer. We lost 2 of our team members, and then we just dug into our processes. We said our processes are shit. We have to fix it. Let's fix it. And then when we bring more people on, we now have a proven process of how to do this the correct way, and that's scalable. Hiring people is not scalable. Fixing the crap in your business is scalable. And we're going through right now. Like we are hiring people, but we're dating them. We're spending 3-4 weeks to interview people. We're showing them our systems and processes and our vision, and that's what's going to multiply. When we're talking about scalability, what multiplies? Right? How do I get agents to join my team? Just from my perspective, right? How do I get agents to join my team and then bring other people to the team that are of the same quality of them? That's scalability. That's not growth.
And I'll tell you this from somebody who has blown up their business and really focused on scaling over the years.
Huh?
No, that's not what I meant. Let me phrase it.
Frank's like, I've been slogging it for 20 years. Dave's like, yeah, I'm a badass.
No, I've been slogging it for 20 years also. Frank, as my friend, will tell you, Frank's known me for years, so he's seen some of this play out. But sometimes scaling feels like losing.
Right.
While you're doing it versus winning is easy. Today I got this phone call, I got this lead, I did this and it worked. All right, that's winning. Scaling will sometimes look like losing,
yes,
even though it's going to give you the biggest advantage to be able to crush it.
I can, and I grew and I didn't scale, and that was a lot of years lost because I thought, I can grow, anybody can grow overnight. You go, you buy 3-4 trucks, you got this, that, the other, you get a bigger shop, but then, the more sales, the more organizational responsibility, and then things start kind of crumble. When you scale, it has to be a process where you're thinking about it, you're investing time. You may not see a return immediately, but then once it hits the ground running, it's on autopilot and things just magically work out.
I love it. Well, we're gonna have to do a growth scalability mindset episode because I think that was just so much that we could unpack there. That was incredible.
This is awesome.
Frank's dropping dimes here. So, all right, Frank, we're gonna wrap this up. How the heck do people find you on the socials and the Ticker Talks and all those things? How do they find you to book you, find your content so they can see what the heck you're doing?
Awesome. So my website is mycraftedkitchen.com, and on any social media platform, just #CraftedKitchens, and we will pop up.
Awesome. Dave, how do we find your information?
You can find me everywhere as Dave Your Mortgage Guy, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube specifically, and I even own the website, DaveYourMortgageGuy.com.
I can't. And Frank did it earlier. I saw the little bit. I was like, yes, we're getting there. You can find us at Selling with the Snyder Group across all platforms, and you can find us, this specific podcast, on all podcasting platforms, the Super Real Estate Bros podcast, and on our YouTube pages, Dave Your Mortgage Guy and Selling with the Snyder Group. We will see y'all next time. Thanks, Frank.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.